Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening for our weekly Intel report for the week of April 5th, 2023. In our big news tonight, Finland became the 31st member of NATO Tuesday after its foreign minister, Pekka Haavisto, signed an accession document and handed it to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken at a ceremony in Brussels. Finland and Sweden, which for years had passed on joining the military bloc, looked to join the then 30-member alliance following Russia's deadly invasion of Ukraine and its increasingly hostile rhetoric against European nations that oppose the illegal war. Sergei Shoigu, Russia's defense minister, said the accession of Finland increased the risks of wider conflict. U.S. President Joe Biden welcomed Finland's accession and urged Turkey and Hungary to conclude the ratification process for Sweden to join as well. Turkey's foreign minister has said Sweden needs to take further steps for Ankara to ratify its NATO membership bid. They also told reporters they had discussed Sweden's NATO bid and developments regarding Ankara's purchase of F-16 fighter jets with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Ukrainian troops face a difficult situation in that eastern city of Bakhmut. The Ukrainian president, at a news conference in Poland, said Kyiv's troops in Bakhmut sometimes advanced a little only to be pushed back by Russian forces, but that they remained inside the city at this time. I know we've seen videos posted by Wagner, them raising flags inside Bakhmut. We've seen all sorts of false claims that the city of Bakhmut has been taken by the Russians. That's not true at this very moment. There are still Ukrainians on the ground there in Bakhmut. There is still fighting ongoing. It says here, Kyiv is willing to discuss the future of Crimea with Moscow if its forces reach the border of the Russian-occupied peninsula, a top advisor to President Volodymyr Zelensky has told the Financial Times. The comments by Andriy Shiiba, deputy head of Zelensky's office, are the most explicit statement of Ukraine's interest in negotiations since it cut off peace talks with the Kremlin last April. Meanwhile, France's President Emmanuel Macron is in China with President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Speaking to journalists, the French leader said anyone helping, quote, the aggressor, Russia, in Ukraine conflict would become an accomplice. He added that it was not in China's interest to provide weapons to Russia in its war against Ukraine. It says here the Biden administration called off Blinken's planned trip to Beijing in February after a Chinese spy balloon traversed the U.S. skies, but has since been trying to restart high-level talks. But China is rebuffing the U.S. efforts, and its willingness to fully engage may hinge on the drama around Wednesday's meeting in California between Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen and Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Speaking to that meeting between Republican McCarthy, he met with Taiwan President Tsai despite China's threats. It says here House Speaker Kevin McCarthy met with Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen in California on Wednesday, despite warnings from Beijing that the meeting would provoke severe confrontation with the U.S. Report has come out saying that the Chinese spy balloon did, in fact, gather intelligence from sensitive U.S. military sites, despite U.S. efforts to block it, which I mentioned when I was covering the live stream of those balloons. And a new report that was released, it does look like those electronic signals were transmitted back to China. Some news here from C4ISR Net. China-Russia propaganda wither as cameras multiply, says a U.S. admiral. The proliferation of cameras now in use around the world make it increasingly difficult for China and Russia to control the narrative in international disputes, according to a U.S. Navy intelligence official. It says here, photographs and other documentation of run-ins between Chinese and Russian forces and those of other countries have proven critical to debunking propaganda, establishing factual timelines, and holding President Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin to account. Rear Admiral Mike Studman said April 5th at the Navy's League Sea Air Space Conference in National Harbor, Maryland. Now, guys, this has directly to do with us here on this YouTube channel. It directly pertains to what we do here on the channel, what we've been doing since the start of the invasion, all right? because of the proliferation of such devices in our modern world, we now have a new ability to monitor ongoing events on the ground wherever they may be happening. Okay, so in the case of the war, we were able to see what was going on the streets of Ukraine, what the Russians were doing, where they were moving. We were able to see tragedies unfold in front of us. It's not just those live cameras, though, but every camera that we all have inside our pocket is capable of enlightening basically the entire world on what's going on in a given situation or conflict.